Hi, good day. Kylie Shakumalo here from SABC News. So, Mr. Sekali, you've made this appeal to SADC, to AU, all these institutions. Are you quite optimistic that they can really have a strong intervention, especially given what they've done in the past in Zimbabwe, where in some instances they've always been accused of overlooking some of these challenges in Zimbabwe? So I just want to get your interaction with regards to that. But also just in terms of these constitutional amendments, I mean, obviously you have the regime saying that it's all about continuity, it's all about making sure that President Mnangagwa is able to finish his projects that are still outstanding. What do you make of that? Thank you.
No, thank you very much for Kumalo. The first thing that we must all understand is that there is deep or lack of confidence in the regional and international bodies in Africa. There is completely no confidence in SADC, like what you correctly said, because of their history of their performance in Zimbabwe. They think that there is solidarity among the misrulers of the region for them to perpetuate their operation against the citizens of the region. But we lose not anything for us to still appeal to their conscience that this is a crisis we are facing in Zimbabwe. We are appealing to your conscience that you cannot be a spectator when you see a coup happening against the will of the people of our country next door. So we expect them to be men and women of conscience, for them to understand that this is a legacy issue for our region. We cannot continue to have a region where the will of the people is not respected. We saw it happened in Mozambique. When Frelimo, through all glaring visual evidence that it did not win the previous elections, they were defeated by Venancio Mohand, went on an escapade to kill and massacre thousands of their citizens for them to remain in power. You also saw it in Tanzania recently, when more than 10,000 people have been assassinated in Tanzania. After the Madam Dictator went and installed herself and gave herself 98.8% of victory. This nonsense that has been happening in our region clearly demonstrates, my brother Kumar, that no one can have faith in SADC. But appealing, consistently knocking on their conscience for them to see that the citizens in their region are under siege. We lose nothing by that. We will continue to do it on the basis of morality, on the basis of our duty as leadership, to make sure that we inform and advise them of what is happening in Zimbabwe. Giving them notice doesn't mean to say that we have got faith in them. We know what they've done to Zimbabwe by defeating the will of the people of Zimbabwe. Even in 2008, when President Peggy came and intervened, we knew his mission was to defeat the will of the people of Zimbabwe. How would Emmerson Mnangagwa need only 2 years for him to deliver what he has not delivered for the past 9 years since he took over power through a military coup in November 2017? What difference would he make? Yesterday, one of his own persons from ZANU-PF, who has a very serious conflict with many South Africans here through his social media activities, called Rutendo Matinyarara, questioned Emmerson Mnangagwa on his achievements since he became president for the past 10 years. He said that Ian Douglas Smith's regime managed to put 9,000 of tarred road network in Zimbabwe. And then he said Robert Mugabe's regime from 1982 to 2017 managed to put 10,000 road network in our country. And then he said, Emerson Mnangagwa, since he took over from November 2017 up to present, has only managed to put 645 kilometers of resurfacing already the roads that have been established by Robert Mugabe and Ian Smith. So what kind of new initiative would we expect from such a failed president? Emerson Mnangagwa is a failed president. The project, the 2-year projects that he wants to finish up to 2030 is the project of looting on an industrial scale and make sure that his clansmen and those who are around him accumulate as much as they can until 2030. And in the process, trying to find a pliable successor to his rulership to protect the loot, so that those who take over the government will not pursue those who have stolen from us. That's the only agenda. So he simply wants these 2 years for him to put his mess correct and make sure that the plunder and the loot, the majority of the loot is being banked here in South Africa. In your FNB banks and these other banks here, they are having billions and billions of United States of America Zimbabwean dollars in their accounts. I challenge them.
Meet Voto AI, the photo editing software that everyone's talking about.
Companies, the name of individuals who are owning accounts with their banks, and tell us what is their bank balance and see the amount of money Zimbabwe has looted. If you go to 4 ways, if you go to Senten, if you go to Bryanston, all these flashy houses here in South Africa are owned by Zimbabweans. The looters have come to export their loot into South Africa, and they are the owners of the majority of flashy properties here in South Africa. So the 2 years Mnangagwa is asking for is for the protection of his loot and the protection of his loot with his criminal gang around him, and make sure that it's well protected after he has left a term of office. I thank you, my brother Kumar.
Okay, thank you. The other Kumar.
Kumar, ARD General Radio. Mr. Scala, with the seemingly emboldened ZANU-PF, that's already taking steps to turn the country into a one-party state through this extension, seemingly so bad. Why does it seem that the opposition seems to be drifting further and further apart when evidence shows that, when history shows that the closest the opposition has been able to displace ZANU-PF was at the time when they united under NDC, when they united under CCC, but we don't see that happening despite that ZANU-PF's actions demand exactly that.
The opposition is not drifting apart. There is no any particular time in the history of our nation where people have been brought together like this period in time, where everyone collectively is united against the 2030 agenda. So there is a united voice of every Zimbabwean against the 2030 agenda. That's why they are scared even to see any opposition leader holding press conferences in Zimbabwe. They know that there is a united national consensus around the issue of opposing 2030. Next. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm David Moore. We've known each other for a while.
Pardon?
I'm David Moore. We've known each other.
Ah, Professor Moore. How are you, Professor Moore?
I'm commissioned by the Conversation to write a piece about this issue. So today I'm a journalist for the next couple.
Yes, I know Professor Moore.
So I've got a few questions for line. What is the role now of these so-called public meetings that are being held by the ED regime, the public consultations, right?
Thank you. Let me answer that first before you go to your next question so that I won't forget. I'm not writing down. The so-called public meetings which ZANU-PF is trying to package as consultation meetings with the citizens of our country is a grandstanding agenda where they would want to portray as if the people of Zimbabwe are in support of the Constitution Amendment number 30. It's a choreographed script of trying to cheat the world that the amendment has the endorsement of the citizens of our country. They are busing people from all over the country for them to go at one singular consultative meeting, and they're trying to hide them, to make noise that they're in support of 2030. So it is a grandstanding antic by the regime. If in terms of their own narrative, that the amendment bill is popular, let them bring it to the referendum. I thank you, Professor Moore. Next question, second question.
I think the struggle here is basically, as is historically common within ZANU-PF, it's a struggle among factions, right? What is the role of what you might call the Constitutional faction now, who have become almost like born-again constitutionalists? And how can we tell the people who are speaking as Democrats
hiring by just matching criteria is obsolete?
Be that much different from EP? How do we know who are the real Democrats in this process? Yeah.
No, thank you very much. Generally, I don't want to be the spokesperson of what General Chiwenga thinks about what is happening vis-a-vis the amendment to 2030, because he has his own views, which I'm not privy to, because I have never engaged him on a one-on-one on it. But what I know is that the majority of those people in ZANU-PF itself also are opposed to Agenda 2030. And ourselves as the defenders and also constitutionalists who are defending our national constitution with our blood, we are welcoming anyone, including those who are opposed. That's why I have said when Baba Kumalo asked me a question on the unity of purpose by all opposition forces in Zimbabwe, that there is national consensus in our country, including those in Zambia who are opposed to this, that this is not only an assault to the opposition forces in the country, but it is an assault on the nationhood of Zimbabwe. So there is consensus across the political divide in Zimbabwe, including those in ZANU-PF, about this issue. So in shorter term, also you asked me a very also inquisitive question, that why are Zimbabweans now seem to be so desperate that they now need even opt for General Chiwenga to take over, but seems not to be very different from the current regime. You know, there are moments when people reach the desperate levels. So whoever will come as a messiah to remove the devil will be welcomed by people of Zimbabwe. So you must read it from that angle, Professor Moore, that the people of Zimbabwe are now at a desperate end. They want anyone, even if you yourself as a foreigner from South Africa, a professor in South Africa, goes there and assists the people of Zimbabwe, they will welcome you. If you hear some of the debates with the people of Zimbabwe are currently engaged in, it will tell you that the people of Zimbabwe have been pushed so to the corner that they will accept anyone who will come and rescue them from the current quagmire we are having in our country. I thank you, Prof. Next. Yes, sir.
Mxoli Singove from AVG News. By the look of things, if ZANU-PF has previously claimed that there is no need for a referendum to change the number of years in a term of office of a president, but by the look of things, if it was so easy for them to just go to parliament and vote for or against the changes, they would have done that without even approaching people. But now when we look at them, they are going around trying to ramp up support for the constitutional amendments. They are harassing those that are opposed to the constitutional amendment. Don't you think this is a telltale sign that there's going to be a referendum and they are preparing to railroad people into accepting it?
We don't want to prophesy. We work with what is currently mitigating on the ground. The government, through its Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Ziyambe, have declared that there will be no referendum. We are working on that premises. Also, ZANU-PF held its own press conference at its own headquarters, where they called one of their barrister lawyer called Paul Mangwana, trying to justify why this bill must not go to a referendum. Through his incoherent utterances, and speaking as an ordinary bus stop lawyer, he failed to justify why we should not go to the referendum. But ZANU-PF wants to railroad itself without a referendum to 2030. And we are working on that, and we are informed by that premise that ZANU-PF has declared that there will be no referendum, and that is what we are working on. In the event that they bring a referendum, we are also prepared at any given time to galvanize our support and to galvanize the citizens of Zimbabwe to overwhelmingly reject this bill at the referendum stage. Next.
Landlords right now.
It's the immigration crisis that the crisis in Zimbabwe has caused in South Africa. As we speak today, March and March, one of the anti-immigrant groups here is holding a march against illegal immigrants in Durban, joined by some political parties. You have also alluded to the fact that the ANC has a strange relationship with ZANU-PF that makes it awkward for them to caution or to advise them accordingly. What do you think ordinary South Africans can do to help in the crisis in Zimbabwe? Because there seem to be a notion and a feeling that Zimbabweans are cowards. They run away from the crisis, come here and destabilize services in South Africa. Ordinary South Africans, what do you think they can do to help Zimbabweans solve them?
Both ordinary and political actors in South Africa have got a role to play in Zimbabwe. They must support Zimbabweans in their struggle back home. This business of exchanging hostilities on social media and so forth doesn't help at all. They must have empathy over the situation that we are having in Zimbabwe. It is not on the basis of their will for them to be here. You have to understand that the ZANU-PF regime has consistently been persecuting the citizens of our country since 1980 when they came to power. Don't forget the 1980 to 1987 genocide in Matabeleland, where the supporters of Joshua Nkomo and any opposition voice in Zimbabwe was massacred, ruthlessly so, and up to 20,000 lives, including pregnant women and children, were ruthlessly killed by that regime. So you must understand it from that angle, that ZANU-PF has been a genocidal political organization in our country. And the people of Zimbabwe have been tortured and beaten, painful enough for them, some of them, to escape, to come to South Africa. So I plead with my South African brothers and sisters. Have empathy to my Zimbabwean brethren who are here. It is not on their own will. They are not cowards, but they have been beaten. Even when the apartheid regime exerted the same kind of conditions to South Africans here, they also ran away to go and live in a sick sanctuary in neighboring countries. In Zimbabwe, in Lusaka, in Tanzania. If you go to Angola today, there are so many South Africans who have left children there. Even in Zimbabwe, there are so many children born out of South Africans who have been living during the period of their struggle against apartheid in this country. It shows that we cannot live without each other. We are the same people. The problems in Zimbabwe will spill over to South Africa, whether we like it or not. It's a fact. Baba Kumala, I saw you also raised the hand. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Okay,
The last question.
okay. At the risk of further driving the rift, when you responded to Kumalo, you said that there is a unified voice in the opposition, but we have seen Advocate Nelson Chamisa, who many consider to be the mainstream opposition leader right now, although he doesn't have a party, stating that there is no constitution in Zimbabwe. And we have seen his eminent of followers, especially on social media, trashing every effort by any non-opposition leader in Zimbabwe, trying to politicize this whole thing of defending the constitution. Do you think eventually Chamisa is going to come on board? If he doesn't come on board, how do you hope to beat the apathy that is going to follow, especially his supporters, considering that Zimbabwe is a cultist state in terms of politics?
I don't want to answer questions about an individual. This press conference is about the crisis that is happening in Zimbabwe, not about an individual. Phone Nelson Chamisa and ask him. I'm not interested to answer that question. Next. Yes, Prof.
I've read recently that the UK is quite willing, and you might want to discuss their role in the coup in 2017, I don't know, but they're willing to enter into a deal with ED that would privatize land and compensate the white commercial farmers for the past. Now, I haven't followed that up, but I think I just read about it yesterday, a couple of days ago. Do you know anything about that?
No, but you have noticed that it was Emerson Mnangagwa's deception. He never made it. It was only done for international public relations. He never meant to compensate white commercial farmers. Since they have agreed, I think in 2017, 2018, the up to present moment, there is no any single implementation of that of that declaration. So what it means is that the United Kingdom regime not also absolving them from the current problems and crises we are facing in Zimbabwe, because they're the ones who also supported the coup that happened in November 2017 together with the Chinese and brought and gave us Emerson Mnangagwa. So their efforts at the present moment that we have been engaging with them, and also I've had several meetings with the British ambassador to Zimbabwe, and bluntly I told him that you must know that you are the author of the current problems that we are facing in Zimbabwe. On the basis that your country, through your former ambassador, Katrina Lang in this country, is the one who went to the international community and misled the international community to believe that Emerson Mnangagwa was a reformist and that the international community must support him. So the British are now getting what they deserve. There will be no compensation that will not be given to commercial farmers. It was a lie that they were sold by Emerson Mnangagwa. That's why you see the same commercial farmers who have been duped by Emerson are now approaching Donald Trump, of all the people, to intervene for the compensation that has been promised to them by Emerson Mnangagwa. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for even coming to cover this press conference. May the Almighty God bless all of you. I thank you.